I love it.
You gotta appreciate some hair that just won't behave. Like it's just got a spirit of I will not be moved. So
That's how you know it's yours. It's like all my
wait,
stuff is consistent.
what are you trying to say? Hold on a second. Um, we are live just a little bit early,
Awesome.
and we will give people a moment to arrive with us.
I
It's
like your blue necklace. It reminds me of the ocean.
Thank you. This is one that I crocheted on a plane. Yeah,
Planes? What are
I know,
planes?
right? Who does that anymore? I do not. Um, yeah, I figured this dress needed something because the it looks like it looks like a t-shirt on camera, but I swear this dress is cute. It's cute. If I stand up, you will get all of the cuteness. I made it myself. And and on camera it looks like a frumpy t-shirt. So I don't know. There's really not much we can do about that. All right, the clock is turning to
Don't
3:31. So what do you say we get started?
need a chime.
I think we do. I think we
Ding.
do. Katrina's here. Hi, Katrina. Um, Shauna's here. Hi, Shauna.
Good morning. Who are you?
You know what? You would ask on such a morning. Um, I am Jill Bates Moore. I am one half of Dahlia Law Group. Um, and I am really proud of that. We built this thing ourselves. Like, bootstrapped it, put it together with glue and duct tape and dental floss and whatever was around. And
Both.
girl, girl, furniture from the free cycle. Like we called upon our old Alicia and I had previous lives in furniture restoration as a hobby. Like we called on those skills. We did all kinds of stuff. Anyway, yeah, I am Jill. I am one half of Dahlia Law Group and I am really proud of that. Who are you? Why are you here?
I love it. I am Alicia, and I am the other half of Dahlia Law Group. And when you said that, I'm thinking, yeah, it's bubblegum, spray paint, and glitter.
Seriously. Seriously. I didn't think I would ever be so proficient with a spray adhesive before. Oh, Tony is here. Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony. We're
Okay.
international.
That makes me want to cry because Tony is joining us from Jamaica, and you know somebody loves you and cares about what you're up to when they make time from Jamaica to come and be with you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so we're gonna give you some good tips today. And well, we always give good tips, but we're gonna give some good tips today, and hopefully you will be able to share them with our brethren and our sistren in Jamaica. How you doing, Alicia? I'm really asking. I want the truth of the matter.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah. I have had a pretty decent week of just kind of appreciating and recognizing and leaning into as we see the news and the numbers and all the things going on, that this way of physical distancing and not like it's not going back to normal anytime soon. And
Mm-hmm.
so, okay, this is what it is. Now let's make the best of the life that we've got right now
Mm-hmm.
in the ways that we can.
Yeah.
So, doing wacky doodle things that make me happy, like making sure that my mask match my outfit cuz we got to coordinate,
Don't we?
and reading my books and just kind of doodling and sewing and whatever. Like, just like, okay, well, we're here. There are all the things that I love here. So let's lean in and do this
Yeah.
and talk to people when we feel like it and not when we don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
hear that.
that's how I am. How are you?
I am. Oh, good. Quinora's here. Hi, Quinora. I am. I'm good. I am inspired by my hair today, which has just decided that it is going to take the shape that it wants to take, no matter what I actually want. It is just going to be what it is. And so that's, I think there's a word in that. Like,
That
there
sounds
is
like a metaphor for life to
you
me.
know, like this is what we're rocking with. So be confident and lovely because
What you gonna do about it?
this is what we got.
Love it.
I'm feeling busy in the productive ways, so that feels good, but it also feel hold on, I can't turn all the way because I cut myself a ball spot over my ear, so I have to I have to focus. Okay, you know
Keep
what?
your radius short.
I am good at other things. As a matter of fact, I am great at a couple of things. Just it turns out not barbering.
How we keep you humble.
Right. But yeah, just feeling busy in the productive ways. I'm inspired by a number of things, and also feeling that I don't know. Do you have this? Do you ever have this feeling like you can see things that you're excited about, that you want to do, that you're really like jazzed up about, but you can't reach them? Like I feel like I keep running out of bandwidth. Like I've run 100 miles, but I've still got one to go.
Yeah.
Because you know a
Sometimes
hip
we
hop
have only
reference, a
two.
'90s hip hop reference is always relevant. But so anyway, I'm counting it all joy. Count it all joy. So we are here, and I am excited about what we're talking about today. Do you want to introduce the topic?
I would love to. Our official topic title is the anatomy of an advanced healthcare directive. And so we are going to talk about what it is, why it matters and who needs it, and give some practical tips about how to get one in place. And one of the great things about this one is where we've talked about some other topics in earlier weeks, like, for instance, nominations of guardian. And if you don't have children, then you kind of tune that conversation out. This one is for everybody. So, everybody, tune in and bring your friends.
And get your pen and paper. You are going to want notes for this one. So, those of you who were here with us last week or who have tuned in to that episode on the replay, you know that last week we teed up an overview of the fundamentals of legacy and estate planning tools. And we said we are going to spend the next however many weeks it takes breaking down the specifics of what those tools are, how they work, how they might apply to you, how you might access them, how you might think about them. Because why? Because body, ara, apostrophe, body needs a plan. Needs a plan. So we are honoring that promise and getting started with that conversation today. Alicia, what is an advanced healthcare directive?
So, an advanced healthcare directive is a document that you have, that a person can have. And I say you have because I want you to have
I
one.
have one. You did it.
I'm glad you do.
You wrote it. You
That's
know I
true.
have one.
I'm not talking to you.
Oh, sorry.
Talking to the people. Let me talk to the people.
I will stand down. Let me put myself on mute.
Lord have mercy. Welcome to our world. This is us. So, an advanced healthcare directive is a document that a person can have where they are giving instructions about the types of care and treatment decisions that they would want made for them if they are not able to make those decisions for themselves. Also, picking who should be the person that stands in to speak for them and giving those instructions to the person, and then also the power for that person that you've picked to step in for you to be able to do that for you. So, to get into the technical pieces of when we say the care decisions and what that means, that can be, I'm going to borrow my notes so that I can give you some official language for it, because this part is really important, of withholding or withdrawing medical treatment and life support. So this would be the situation that you've seen if you watch TV movies, seen it on the news where they talk about quote unquote pulling the plug is the colloquial that we hear. This is that decision of giving your people some guidance for if you want that done and what conditions you want it to be when that happens, and if there are certain timing decisions about that. What you're also giving instructions for in this document are whether or not you want your people to authorize or not an autopsy, and giving instructions about anatomical gifts as well. So when you go and get your driver's license, they will ask you, in California, they ask you if you want to be an organ and tissue donor, and they put a little pink dot on your driver's license. They've gotten more sophisticated with their pink dot, because it used to be they sent you a paper sticker to put on your plastic card, and so it faded and rubbed off. And so you might just have a sticky spot on your license and not necessarily the information about organ and tissue donor. But the reason that you have it in your advanced healthcare directive is because even if you have the dot on your license, they still have to speak to your agents in order to get permission to do the procedures that might be required there. And so within the language of your advanced healthcare directive, this gets to be your way to communicate to your people and decision makers. Your agents are those, is the official name for those people, your agent or attorney, in fact. And so having that information within the document allows you to communicate that to your people so that they can confidently answer that question on your behalf. It also lets you say if you have any specifications for how you would want such a donation to be used, then you get to let your people know that as well.
Excellent. I was managing some of the comments while you were giving that overview, and got a little distracted for a second because my sister popped in and just said, "Hi, Jill. Danielle's here, y'all. Hi, Danielle. What the fuck?" So I really wanted to key in on one of the things that you covered in that overview that sometimes we don't talk a lot about. And that is things that you don't want. There are lots of conversations about what kinds of treatment to give, who should be in charge of making those decisions. So your advanced healthcare directive can include a power of attorney for healthcare as well, that will allow somebody who is called your agent to, an agent is just the legal term for somebody who is authorized to act on behalf of another person. But
I covered that part while you were talking to Danielle.
clearly I was distracted. Clearly I was
like
distracted.
Almost to the exact same.
Oh my
word.
gosh. So that I am that student who is like talking in class while the teacher is giving the lesson and then asks the question like, "What's the homework?" when she just gave the homework. But the part that, so I will just stay in my lane. The part that really stands out to me at this moment is remembering that we are at choice in all of these decisions, who we want, but also who we don't want, as Alicia was saying, what we want done, but also what we do not want done. Right. So just keeping in mind the holistic nature of the decision making that we get to do in an advanced healthcare directive. An advanced healthcare directive, did you cover the differences over the living will and the power of attorney? Okay.
Hadn't
Then,
gotten to that part yet. Do
see,
it.
then I actually can be useful here. I actually can be useful. So, a living will, a lot of times people will use the term advanced healthcare directive. We hear people use the term advanced healthcare directive and living will interchangeably. A living will is a type of advanced healthcare directive that, well, it's a type of healthcare directive that is really, it really doesn't have the advance part. A living will really comes into play when somebody is making, when they are in a terminal healthcare situation. Okay, so I mean, it grants some similar powers, but it really has more to do with end of life decision making. And a power of attorney is exactly what Alicia described it to be. Believe every word that she said about that because she did describe it well. I know because I have the notes over here. Um, An advanced healthcare directive typically includes powers for an agent to act on your behalf. So you will see, at least in the California statutory form, for example, that we will give you access to. We'll drop access to it in the show notes. That the first thing that the California statutory advanced healthcare directive does is allows you to appoint agents to make healthcare decisions for you on your behalf. So technically, a power of attorney for healthcare is a separate thing from an advanced healthcare directive, but you will likely see them together. And that makes sense because we're making decisions about our health and also empowering people to carry out those decisions, to advocate for those decisions, and also to make decisions consistent with our values that maybe we didn't get a chance to cover because you can't anticipate everything. So those things, it makes sense that they would go together, but don't be put off if you hear them referred to separately. What is next, friend? Who needs this? Who needs this and
Everybody,
why?
everybody.
I know, spoiler alert.
So, similar to what we said just in introducing the topic of this one applying for all the people. So, this is not, oh, I only need this if I have kids or don't have kids. I only need this if I'm married or if I'm not married. This one really is for everybody. So, if you are a person that is over the age of 18, then this is a document that you really should have in place. And it is so that you can communicate for your people. I think Jill says this the very best way of this document is about helping your people get it right for you when it matters the most and forgetting to say who you want the people are to do the speaking on your behalf. So I mean it for when I say everybody, anyone who's over 18, and then an extra special emphasis on the fact that when something has happened and a decision is needed, there is kind of a prescribed next of kin setup that people will likely speak to. And who that person is may not be the person that you want to speak for you. So if you are a single person, for instance, or a somebody who is not in I will call it a contractual partnership that has been done and sanctioned by a government agency, but you may still have a life partner that you would want to be your person speaking for you in that next of kin setup that they would use. They wouldn't talk to your person. They would talk to your parents if you have parents, for if your parents are living, for instance, instead of who your partner is. And so if you would want your partner to be the person speaking for you, then this is how you make sure that that's the person that gets to speak on your behalf. So that's where some of the everybody comes into this of having that. And what Jill was saying of who you want to speak, but also if there are people that you don't want to speak on your behalf. So sometimes it can be, I have family members that would be high up in the order of my next of kin setup. And while I love them a lot, and I know that they love me, they don't necessarily agree with what life looks like for me and the things and choices that I make. And so they may not be the best decision maker for me to be in that document. And it could also be that the person that is your next of kin is not well equipped to do the job. So, as much as they love you and would want to do the job and get it right, it would actually cause them harm and suffering to have to be in that position to make those choices. And so, to relieve that burden from that person, you get to say and give them a pressure release, cut them a break, so that they can care for you in the ways that they are able to, but not be in the decision making seat that would cause them harm. So now that we have defined who our air bodies is, and you are in fact an air body,
Raise your hand.
then yes, raise your, are you an air body?
I am.
You are an air body.
Everybody.
Excellent. So then some of the basics of what you need to have that have to be true in order for you to be able to create this document is, as I mentioned, you have to be at least 18. Next one is that you have to have capacity to sign it. And so when we talk about capacity, that is one of those legal magic words of what does it mean? And it's also one of those legal magic words that can be kind of frustrating because people just say it and keep it pushing like everybody knows what that's supposed to mean. And that is not necessarily true. So, what capacity means, and I looked it up and I want to read it, the definition part of it, at least cover the highlights of it, means the ability to communicate verbally or by other means the decision, and then to also understand and appreciate what it means, what it doesn't mean, and what you're deciding. So it's not like you have to pass a test, but if I can talk to you about it and you can communicate to me, whether it's to point or to tell me what it is that you want done and who you want to be your people and what those things mean to you in a way that matters, that it's clear that if I asked you to tell me and explain it, that you could do that, that is capacity.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking for, is a person needs to be able to understand and appreciate what this is that they're deciding in order to execute the document.
Yeah. And California law helps you out on this point, because a person is presumed to have, under California law, a person is presumed to have capacity to make healthcare decisions unless they don't. Like, you're right. So something has to happen usually, or something has to be apparent to raise that capacity question usually. Katrina wants to know if we should list multiple people in our advanced healthcare directive. I think this is a perfect segue into the next part of the conversation, which is going to go over what should be in the advanced healthcare directive. So, to recap, we have talked about so far what is an advanced healthcare directive. We've talked about why it matters and who needs one, and we've talked about this baseline requirement of capacity to make healthcare decisions. So, what should be in the advanced healthcare directive? And from here on out, when we say advanced healthcare directive, hear us also saying a power of attorney for healthcare decision making. Okay, we are now officially talking about these two concepts in one tool, and we are calling it advanced healthcare directive. Okay, all right. So in the healthcare directive, the way that we ask you to think about this is to start with your values. Okay, so consider the context of your values as you are including these various things. And by various things, I mean, one, you want your advanced healthcare directive to cover treatment decisions that are important to you. So, for example, if you are more comfortable with Western types of medical and health treatment like you would typically see in the United States, then you want to say that. If you have a broader scope or a different scope of health or medical treatment that you like to use. So, for example, if you like more Eastern focused uh, treatment modalities, so think like acupuncture, acupressure, think Reiki, think Feldenkrais, think energy work, think any number of different types of treatment. Then this is the place to say that, right? If cannabis is a part of your pain management or other health regimen, you want to, like, this is a place to express that preference. If CBD is a part of that, this is the document where you want to put that, and you want to let people know. You also want to include preferences about life ending decision making, right? So if you're in a health situation where you do not want to have care extended for indefinitely. So think of a situation. I don't know if everybody is old enough to remember Terry Schiavo. So really, it was a famous case where this woman was on life support for an extended period of time. As I recall it, it was actually years.
Mm-hmm.
And her family disagreed about whether to leave her body on the life support, or to remove the life support and then let nature take its course, whatever that was going to be. And so they fought about it in court for an extended period of time. Excuse me. This is a place, your Advanced Healthcare Directive is a place for you to express your preference, or to give that directive, right? Directive is the instruction, right? Remove life support under these circumstances. Do not remove it under these circumstances. That needs to be in here. You also want to cover, and this, Katrina, addresses your question directly. I'm sorry it took me a minute to get to it. But you also want to cover who gets to speak for you and who does not. This is that agent question. And if it's okay with you, Alicia, I want to spend just an extra minute here in this space, because yes, Katrina, I think that you should list multiple people. I think that you should do it in a particular way, though. I think that it is helpful to include your agent, and then if not, like if that person is not reachable, if that person will not act for you, right? Because sometimes these situations are triggering, and people just kind of, can freeze and not be able to act for you the way that you want them to. You want to have you want to have somebody on deck, right? And I would actually go so far as to say you want to have at least two people on your bench, right? So I list my agent. If that person cannot or will not act for me, then the next person. If that person cannot or will not act for me, then the next person. Okay. And Katrina, let me know if that answered your question, and if it didn't, let me know so that I can make sure that you get the answer that you need. The next thing I would say, just on this particular point, is when you are choosing somebody, don't worry as much about where they are geographically located. Sometimes people tell us that, they don't have a lot of family nearby in California, or, their family is all spread out, and so they struggle to appoint somebody. It matters less where the person is than if they answer their phone. Actually, what you want is somebody who is reachable, right? And who is responsive. Because usually if they're getting tapped in to this role, if they're up and it's time to get to work on your behalf, it's not usually something that can wait for a long time, right? Like if somebody is calling them and saying, "Hey, I need you, I need to know what to do here," then they need to know what to do.
Um,
So I just wanted to add that piece. And then another really important piece is when the Advanced Healthcare Directive becomes effective. Yeah.
on the people that you're picking, another point to think about is when you're picking your person one, two, and three, also be thinking about people that don't always travel with you. So if you're
Yes.
thinking like, oh, it's going to be my spouse or my partner, but we always ride together, we share a car, like you rarely see one of us without the other, you want somebody that's outside of your movement circle because chances are if something happens to one of you, something has happened to both of you. So making sure to get somebody that may not be in moving with you all the time as your person. Another thing that I think it's important to consider in that when you're thinking about who to put in that list is similar to what Joel was saying is worry less about the geography. This is not a time to worry about who it should be or who would be upset if I did not put them in this role, and putting in place the person that you think is the right person that you would want speaking on your behalf and that is going to do things that are in line with the instructions that you're giving.
Yep. So treatment decisions, including sort of everyday, day to day types of treatment decisions, right? What we'll consider regular treatment, but also emergency treatment decisions. You want to cover that in your Advanced Healthcare Directive. That's one if you're taking notes. Care guidance, right? So if I prefer to be cared for in a particular way by a particular staff, right? Like if I am more comfortable in a room that is not air conditioned, right? Like tell somebody that, right? So that they can care for you well. If I need a particular type of diet or, or whatever, tell somebody that so that they can care for you well, right? This goes back to your values. Care for me well. Who gets to speak and who doesn't? That's the third thing. Yep. And when it becomes effective, that's the fourth. And then the last thing, Alicia already talked about a little bit, which is organ donation and anatomical gifts and autopsies. So you can cover that there as well. Let's talk a little bit about what is required in order for the Advanced Healthcare Directive to be effective, because you don't want to do all of this work to put your thoughts and instructions down and put people in place and then they can't do what you need them to do because the document is not sort of technically acceptable. There are not a lot of requirements, but there are some. So Alicia, will you just run us through those really quickly?
So you mean I can't just put a post-it note on my back and expect that to be the thing?
Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. you know good and well I have 10 tons of thoughts about stuff like that. Wow, these people here all day and we are at the half-hour mark. So can't we? Don't do me like that, friend.
Well, fine. So, number one, what's required to be effective is you need a date. So, when did you do this thing? When did these instructions become applicable to you?
Yeah.
It also either needs to be signed by the patient or the person whose directive it is. So, if it's mine, either I need to sign it or it can be signed by someone else for me if I direct them to sign it for me and I see them do it. So if I'm physically not able to do it for myself, but I tell you, these are the things that I want in the document, you confirm with me that that's in there, and then I order, or not order you, but I instruct you to sign it on my behalf and I watch you sign it for me. Then next up is that it can be notarized or witnessed. If it is witnessed, it needs to be with two witnesses who are at least 18. The two witnesses, neither one of them can be the agent or decision maker in the document. They also cannot be your doctor. So if it's a doctor or nurse that is a part of your care team, they cannot be one of your witnesses. And if you are a person that lives in a residential care facility, then it can't be one of the staff members that's a part of your care team. And those pieces of the who's it can't be are really about making sure that it's not somebody that would have a conflict of interest because either they're already in a decision making role or they stand to benefit from some decision that could be made as a result of this advanced healthcare directive.
Yeah. We read stories every day of people who have tried it, and almost gotten away with it. Um, there's one amplification or clarification that I feel like it's important for me to make, and that is on the when your advanced healthcare directive becomes effective. I don't know that I explained that, so I just want to say that that can be a date. That's fine. Like if I'm going out of town or something like that, and I want it to be effective, while I'm out of town. But what really we're keying into on that is whether you want somebody to have power to help you with your decision making or to speak for you, will you still have capacity to do that yourself, right? So they can be your voice of convenience, right? They can't override anything that you say. What you say still goes. But they are authorized to speak now. Or if they are not authorized to speak for you at all, unless you are incapacitated. Okay, so unless you lose that capacity that we talked about early on. So I don't think that I included that, and I think that is important for you to know. The other special note that I would add here is that in California, because some of us plan for elders or older generations who might be dependent on us, who might be living in skilled nursing facilities or might be treated there. If you are doing an advanced healthcare directive, either for someone, helping them with it, and they're in a skilled nursing facility, or that applies to you, that you yourself are in the skilled nursing facility in California, if that is the case, then the patient advocate or the ombudsman or whoever sort of is in that type of role at the skilled nursing facility will have to be a witness. So I know that we said it can't be somebody who works at the healthcare facility. That is true in every situation except for if the patient or the person who is granting the powers is actually living at the facility or is getting skilled nursing care. Did I get it?
You got it. It's
All right.
homework time.
It is homework time. Let's give it.
So, your homework is that we told you before, we are California lawyers, so when we're talking about California specific things. However, this homework is one that is likely going to be able to apply for everybody. So in California, there is a statutory form that can be used for your advanced healthcare directive. So you can pull up that statutory form and it will give it to you. One of the interesting things about the statute, even, is the first page and a half of it is just explaining to you what the advanced healthcare directive is and how to complete it. So, what's covered in each of the parts. And so, it gives you a place to name your agents and put in the information for all of these things we've talked about. So, your one real homework item is to locate your statutory form so that you can start your advanced healthcare directive. Because we've said everybody needs one, and have identified that you are in fact an body, so that is you. So if you are in California, we will happily provide you with the California statutory form, but you can look one up for whatever state that you are in.
And all states don't have a statutory form, and that's fine. You can get a form of advanced healthcare directive from your doctor's office.
Mm-hmm.
A number of people have Kaiser for their benefits plans. Kaiser has a great healthcare directive. So feel free to use that. It is on their website. If you look up advanced healthcare directive for a medical provider, like for a hospital in your area, then you're likely to come up with a form that you can use.
Yep. Then next up is you are also going to update, your emergency contacts, both in your phone as well as if you have documents, if it's on your refrigerator, wherever you have it, make sure that those stay up to date. If you are an iPhone user, for instance, there is a whole section of emergency contacts that you can have located in your phone that can be accessed even if your phone is locked. So emergency care providers would be able to get to those people. And if you have completed your advanced healthcare directive, then put in the notes of that emergency contact that you have an advanced healthcare directive and where to locate it so your people know where to find your papers.
And also what the date of it is.
Yeah.
And then in terms of where to locate it, believe it or not, a really smart thing to do is to take a copy of your advanced healthcare directive and drop it in a Ziploc bag and put it in the back of your freezer before you log off. I know. But before you before you log off, the reason for that is because excuse me, is because it's really low tech, easily accessible, but secure storage, right? Like think about it. How many people outside of your house are going in your freezer? And if you live in a place where there are fires, frequently the refrigerator is one of the last things to burn. If you live in a place where there are floods, frequently the refrigerator is one of the last things to sink. And so as long as somebody can get access to your home, or if they have to come and see about you in your home, they can get access to that advanced healthcare directive, which is going to give them a lot of information in terms of who to notify, what decisions to make, and all of that, and they'll be able to do it in a timely way. Also, make sure that an up-to-date advanced healthcare directive is on file with your primary care doctor, your healthcare provider, and that they put it in your chart. Questions, concerns, thoughts before we sort of do the recap and release everybody into their day.
And make sure that your people know that your document exists. So it's one thing to name them in the document as decision makers. At least let one of the somebodies on your list know document exists, that they're named in it and where to locate it.
Yeah. Even if they're not named in it, right? Like let somebody know that you have this thing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's just sort of sitting there and not able to be used. So I just want to go really quick back over the recap before we sign off for the day. Anatomy of an advanced healthcare directive. We covered what it is, right? We covered why it matters and who needs it. We covered that you have to have capacity to make healthcare decisions in order to complete it. That if you are 18 or older, you absolutely must have this. Yes, I'm being that aggressive with my language. We covered what should be in it. We covered what is required in order for it to be effective. And you have some homework. Find one, right? We're going to drop the California statutory fill in the blank form in the show notes. But if you are not in California, then you can locate your statutory form, get one from your doctor's office, a local hospital, Kaiser, whomever. Update your emergency contacts. Make sure those are up to date. And update the notes section in your emergency contacts to say that you have an advanced healthcare directive, what the date is, and where it is located. And make sure that your doctors or healthcare providers have a copy and that it is in your chart. And if you're going for extra credit, and I think you are, drop a copy of it. Drop a copy of it in a Ziploc bag and put it in the back of your freezer. Where can the people find us, Alicia, if they have follow-up questions?
You can find us here at the YouTubes, and in that comment box, you can always ask a question there, and we'll get back to it.
Every Wednesday at 12:30.
Yes, every Wednesday at 12:30 right here on the YouTubes. So far, the Internet Granny's record is satisfactory that when we said we was going to be here, we was here.
No
We
matter what
figured
our
it
hair
out,
looks
pulled it
like.
off. You can also find us on Instagram at Dahlia Law, and Dahlia is spelled like the flower, Dahlia. And we also are available through our website as well, which is dahlialawgroup.com. So Dahlia lawgroup.com.
Thank you all so much for being here with us. I hope that this information is useful to you, but more than that, I hope that you will share it, because even if it's not useful to you, it might be useful to the person sitting to your left or to your right. Please share these resources broadly, wildly, freely. Please be a big mouth about it, and please direct people here if you think that this is news that they can use. Have a wonderful day, y'all. Bye. Everybody's saying bye, so I don't want to. I don't want to log off. Lisa, we did a good job. And
Thank
Danielle
you.
said goodbye.
Bye, Danielle.
And Shauna is signing off and saying goodbye as well. All right, y'all. Till now.